Hi, Jimmy Rickel from News Team 3. We're down here at the courthouse talking to the DA, David Eyster, about a variety of issues. And we hope that you enjoy this. And if you have any questions, you can call Access TV or the DA's office, and I'm sure they'll find some time to talk to you. All right, David, thank you for spending this time with us. I appreciate it.
Good afternoon to your viewers, and good afternoon to you, Jimmy.
All right. Well, a couple of questions. How's your health?
My health is great.
All right. This job hasn't got to you yet?
It's a busy job. There's a lot of work. You drive by late at night. Many times you'll see me here, but
Okay.
no, it hasn't gotten to me yet.
All right. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. Staffing of the office. I realize every DA has issues with what funds the county puts forward to deal with their staffing issues. How are you faring out with all this?
You know, I don't think we've had problems with the budget that the DA's office has received from the Board of Supervisors. What we have is we have constant turnover, loss of quality attorneys, because our salary structure here is so much lower than even much smaller counties. And so I can lure people here for a short time. They may spend a year or two getting good experience, because we're known as a county where we can give you good experience. But then they get lured away to other counties by their pay scale. And when you're old like me, quality of life is a factor you throw in there and say, but great quality of life. When you're young, you say, oh no, I need a salary because I have big student loans. I have, you know, I'd like to get married. I'd like to buy a house. I'd like to do these things. And under current conditions, the salary structure isn't sufficient to lure the people to come here. The county tends to look at all employees kind of equally. But what they forget is that the attorneys have to go to extra schooling, have to get their JD degree. They have to take the bar exam and pass. They're specially licensed. And then they have to basically do an apprenticeship. They have to come in here and build up their experience level. And so when we build it up and then they leave, it's a resource loss. It's a resource drain to us.
Well, I see that in law enforcement and other county businesses, not just in this county, but throughout the state. Whoever's got a higher wage and benefit package, those folks are most likely going to move.
Well, it's difficult though when, like, a county like Colusa pays their attorneys more money than Mendocino does. And so you kind of look at how much population they have there versus us and the likes, and you say, how can that be? So I'm sure someone will make it better for us.
All right. Well, knowing that you're probably a training center for these attorneys that are going to be working throughout the state, one of the big issues I think the public is concerned about is the marijuana issue. There's a variety of opinions on how the DA or the law enforcement should deal with it. How do you deal with marijuana issues?
Well, marijuana in Mendocino County is an interesting beast. We've dealt with it as kind of a team approach, where the sheriff and I have worked very well together. There hasn't been much disagreement. We generally go after unlawful marijuana, and there's very pretty clear rules as to what that is. We have priorities that we go after. The first priority is if you're growing on public land, you're probably going to be in trouble. If you're a trespass grow, you're using someone else's land, you're in trouble. Resource degradation, you're up there knocking trees down and destroying streams. Stealing resources, and when I say that is people steal water, they steal all sorts of things, electricity, the likes. And finally, if you're a pure profiteer. Those are the 5 pre-November criteria, because if the Adult Use of Marijuana Act passes, Prop 64, and the way they're setting up the new Medical Marijuana Act that comes into place January of 2018, profit will be okay, which is not the case right now.
Right.
What will be the bugaboo there will be unlicensed profit. And
Yes.
that means if you're not paying your taxes and you're not getting your licenses and all those things, then you're going to still have some difficulty.
Well, I understand the county is, the Board of Supervisors is working on a new ordinance of sort to try and deal with the issue from their perspective. Again, if the law passes, like you say, it's going to create all sorts of issues, let alone new driving under the influence issues. I'm sure that's an ongoing issue as it is today, but it could get exacerbate, get worse.
Well, you can expect it to get worse.
Oh yeah. Talking about ballot issues, Mendocino County has Measure AF. This apparently was crafted by a Sonoma County marijuana attorney advocate, and I noticed looking at the 61 pages that it is very well crafted. It has a variety of problems. I don't see any particular tax mechanism in there, even though they hawk that there is.
Well, they're trying to expand where marijuana can be grown. So expanding where marijuana can be grown and minimizing any taxes that someone might have to pay.
Right.
So they want to use all the benefits and resources of Mendocino County, but they don't want to pay their fair share. What's interesting is that these same people complain that for example, the grape industry uses too much water and this and that,
Yeah.
but the grape industry isn't looking for a reduction in taxes. This group wants to use money
okay.
too, but they want to do it at a highly discounted rate.
Well, I realize Point Arena and maybe another county area has a tax issue on the ballot, so it seems to be a flow that is going to be talked about and voted on. And
Well, that's the theme of the new Medical Marijuana Act that Senator McGuire and Assemblyman Wood got through the legislature after 20 years of doing nothing. So, kudos to them for doing that. It's also a theme that's in the Adult Use of Marijuana Act, Prop 64. And the theme is, okay, it's time to regulate and tax. And if you're not in favor of being regulated or taxed, you probably want AF to pass.
Right.
So,
well, it's going to be interesting what the public does do with the nature of our contentious presidential candidates. I haven't seen too much at a local level that contention. I want to thank you for spending this time. I realize you're busy. You got cases all over your desk. Do you have anything that you'd like to share with the public?
well, all I'm going to share is a couple things.
Okay.
One, you asked me about AF. I'm voting no.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing is the sheriff has his propositions on. It's
That's
AG and AH. I'm
That's
voting
it.
yes.
That's the mental health issues.
Yeah, all good, all here.
Yeah.
So that's how you know AG and AH.
Oh, okay.
So if you remember all good, all here, then I think we have to take care of that because the
Yeah.
sheriff has become our de facto mental health caregiver. And we have to do something about that, and no one else was doing something, so he stepped forward, and I support him.
Well, I thought that was a great idea. I have watched the mental health issue for years. I was one of the original Mendocino Alcohol Project counselors, and my thing was the court system. And yes, there's a lot of people who have issues, and the jail isn't necessarily set up for that.
Yeah.
But I think that's why courts want people into programs.
Well, unfortunately, see what's happened is like, as you say, the programs. When the people voted for Prop 47, what they didn't understand was they are undercutting the drug courts.
Yeah.
And we can't get people in the drug courts anymore. The other thing I want to make sure people understand is that there's a wolf in sheep's clothing initiative on the ballot. It's Prop 57. It's supposedly addressing nonviolent inmates in state prison.
Releasing them earlier.
Release them earlier, and you know what? That's one of those examples where the ballot title and the summary is simply not true.
Well, the current status of releasing early, I think there's something on the books now where they're releasing some folks early. How is that feathered out?
Well, we had realignment in 2011,
Right.
which took 500 felonies off the eligibility list for state prison.
Oh, okay.
So if you're convicted
Made
of
them
one of those,
misdemeanors then?
not misdemeanors,
Oh, okay.
but you could only be sent to either jail or local prison, meaning the jail.
Yeah.
Then Prop 47 came through in 2014, and that changed. If you steal a gun, a misdemeanor. If you petty theft, misdemeanor always, even if you've done 10 petty thefts.
Oh, okay.
All methamphetamine possession, misdemeanor. In the old days, we used to look at how
yes.
much you had versus, if you had a lot, felony. If you had a little bit, okay, you're just a user, misdemeanor.
Yeah.
Okay, all that's misdemeanor. What we've gotten as a result of not paying attention in these initiatives is we've had a spike in thefts.
Right.
The stores are, the businesses are feeling it. We've had a spike in drug usage and possession. We've had across the state, we've had a spike in violent crimes. And so at this point, what Prop 57 wants to do is basically, some estimates are up to 50% of the population in the state prisons would be released on early eligibility. Right. I went through if I was to go through our last people in state prison the last 5 years, 82% of those people would be eligible for early release. 82%. And I only, people that go to state prison are not newbies.
Right.
They're not the first
Right.
time they went there.
That's right.
And so what we're talking about is people who have normally earned their way to prison. And, I'm
And
very...
recidivism rates.
Well, the recidivism rate used to be from state prison was 70%. So that's why they sent all
Yes.
these people to county prison, because they thought the county could do it better, because the county's recidivism rate was about 40%. Right now, our recidivism rate for the Prop 47 and realignment people is right around 62%.
No,
Okay, so that's better than 70%, but it's a
still,
lot worse than 40%.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're still retreading all these people through the system.
So what Prop 57 is going to be is catch and release and revolving door justice on steroids. And it is all bad for local public safety.
Well, I voted no on that particular
Wise
measure,
move.
and there's
I will be
quite a
voting no
few
also.
Again, David, hey, thank you for this time. I appreciate you spending some time with us. I give you a hard time every time I see you, but I appreciate you spending some time with us.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in.